Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Audi A6 car. The Audi A6 is one of the most popular used cars imported to our country from the West. What is behind this, and is it really such a valuable vehicle? It is more comfortable and spacious, aimed at sedate people, but this does not mean that it lacks dynamics, especially if we choose the V6 engine. And here we have a large choice, but the market hit is the 3-liter diesel. TDI and V6 is a combination that gives shivers to older Audi users. But a new generation of these units has already appeared in the C6. Let's start with the car's technology. Like every A6, the C6 is a luxury car with the engine placed longitudinally in the front and driving the front wheels or all four wheels thanks to Quattro drive. This solution has several faces, of course, but in the A6 there is only its best version, i.e. with a central asymmetrical torsion differential which constantly transfers torque to all four wheels, providing not only very good traction but also phenomenal driving characteristics. In this respect, at least theoretically, Audi is better than BMW. The engines available in the described Audi A6 can satisfy everyone's needs, small and large, petrol and diesel. However, on our market, petrol engines are not very popular, and the advantage lies with diesels, especially the described V6. The range of engines starts with 2-liter TFSI with 170 hydrogen phosphide, and TDI with 140 HP or 170 HP. The larger unit is a 2.4-liter petrol but without turbo and with indirect petrol injection with 177 HP. This is already a V6 engine. Others are petrol 3.0 TFSI 290 hydrogen phosphide and 3.2 FSI 255 hydrogen phosphide and diesel 2.7 TDI 180 and 190 hydrogen phosphide and 3.0 TDI 225 and 240 hydrogen phosphide. Apart from the 3-liter diesel, these are not very popular and rather rare engines. There was also a 4.2-liter V8 with 335 and 350 horsepower, and the top 5.2-liter V10 powering the sports version of the S6 without turbo, or the RS6 with turbo. That's another story and a different car. In this article we will deal with the 3.0 TDI unit, which, regardless of power and market, had common rail injection, and depending on the version and year, 225, 233, or 240 HP and torque from 450 to 500 Nm. All comments also apply to the 2.7 TDI engine, which is a derivative of the 3-liter version. What's broken? Let's start with the engine which, unlike the 3-liter BMW diesel, wasn't developed that much from the start. Of course, comparing the 3.0 TDI with the 2.5 TDI, the difference is so big that it's hard to describe. You could say that Audi users could finally breathe a sigh of relief, but the 3.0 TDI isn't without its flaws either. The very complicated timing drive system with a set of chains is troublesome. What is worse, these, like in the later 3.0D BMW engine, are placed on the gearbox side, so replacing them requires removing the engine. Problems with the timing system are manifested by its loud operation. They cannot be underestimated, if only because of their very complicated construction, where each of the 4 chains can affect the durability of the next ones. In addition, these chains drive not only the 4 camshafts, but also the balance shafts and the oil pump. Unfortunately, their replacement is expensive, but the problem was practically eliminated after the facelift, and has not occurred in models since 2008, unless they are very worn out. Another problem, which also appears mainly before the facelift, are leaking injectors. Sometimes they only hang up temporarily. Sometimes they supply a dose of fuel for a long period of time directly to the piston, which is made of aluminum and quickly burns out. The problem is that piezo injectors, the only ones used, are relatively expensive, and users sometimes sell the car when the first signs of their failure appear. It is absolutely necessary to diagnose them before buying, so as not to expose yourself to serious expenses. The last of the problems of the engine itself are the intake manifold flaps, which can also be a nightmare for BMW diesel users. However, there is no risk of the flap breaking off and falling into the engine. Rather, they cause it to work incorrectly due to excessive clearance. An element outside the engine but directly cooperating with it is also the exhaust gas purification system with a particulate filter. As in all cars, it does not like driving in the city and on short distances, but most A6s do not drive like that. However, after a higher mileage, you have to count on its replacement or at least regeneration. There are no major reservations about the Audi A6 chassis, although individual guide elements, especially those made of aluminum, can be expensive. At least they are characterized by high durability. Two lower wishbones are used in the front, and both have pins, of course non-replaceable. For decent products you have to pay about $150, and not, as cheap companies offer, $200 for a set of all wishbones for the entire axle. The rear axle is not a cause for concern for several 100,000 kilometers. Sometimes a link fails, and that's it. Unfortunately, in worn-out cars where several suspension elements are suitable for replacement, the costs of restoring them to order will be high. You should not be afraid of the air suspension either. If you buy a facelifted car with relatively low mileage, it will serve you for a long time. However, when leaks appear and something needs to be done, there is no shortage of specialists on the market who are not as expensive as you might think. In the case of the 3.0 TDI version, there are no concerns about the gearbox because the rather unreliable Multitronic, steepless transmission was not combined with it. The automatic is just the good old Tiptronic, which, with proper use and service, i.e. regular oil changes, will last a very long time. It is worth choosing this gearbox because it is refined and comfortable. In addition, having an automatic transmission, we have no problem replacing the rather expensive clutch with a dual-mass flywheel in a manual transmission. The Quattro drive, which unlike the competing X-Drive, does not increase operating costs because it is failure-free, is also something worth having. The Audi A6 struggles with minor electronics problems, but this mainly concerns cars that have been in accidents or have been involved in collisions. Another issue is the LED daytime running lights. Burnt-out diodes cannot be replaced. The entire headlight must be replaced. In addition, there are sometimes faults with the sensors responsible for the DPF filter. One of the main reasons why Poles are so fond of the A6 model with the 3.0 TDI engine is its very good dynamics while maintaining reasonable fuel consumption. In addition, the 2.0 TDI version has become infamous. Although cylinder head and lubrication system failures do not affect most versions of this unit, many people are afraid of the huge costs of repairing smaller diesels. There is indeed something to it, because although the operation of 6-cylinder engines is generally more expensive than an inline-4, the 3.0 TDI engine can be considered dynamic, economical, and relatively durable at the same time, and not at all more expensive to repair than the faulty 2.0 TDI versions. Fuel consumption of less than 8 to 9 liters can be considered a good result, and if someone drives economically, they will easily achieve results of around 6 to 7 L 100 km. Unfortunately, the capacity increases both the excise duty rate on the imported car and the insurance costs. When it comes to insurance itself, it is worth buying the entire package, because although the car is getting old, it is still a tasty morsel for a thief. In addition, in the event of a collision, you have to count on expensive repairs. And when it comes to repairs and service, Audi is similar to BMW E60 in this respect. It is obvious that original parts are expensive, but there is no shortage of both substitutes and unauthorized workshops specializing in VAG car repairs. Some of the prices of parts may come as a surprise, such as shock absorbers for standard versions, which are no more expensive than for compacts. High overall reliability has a positive impact on operating costs, but modern construction means that more serious failures will require solid financial outlays. The Audi A6 is not without reason so beloved by rather pragmatic users. It is a solid car, providing great travel comfort and at the same time prestige, and at the same time it distances itself from the stereotypical tracksuit and men shaved to the bone. It is a stately car, but with the 3.0 TDI unit and Quattro drive, it can surprise many a driver of a luxury or sports car. With reasonable operating costs for this class, and a decent purchase price, you can become the owner of a dream, which has long been a Passat B5. However, you still have to reckon with potential large expenses in the event of a major failure of the injection system. Turbocharging, dual-mass flywheel or DPF filter. It is best to choose the version with the most powerful engine with 240 HP and automatic transmission, and Quattro drive, which increases the value of the vehicle and provides better traction. The 2009 to 2011 model years and the Avant body versions, i.e. station wagons, are worth recommending. You shouldn't be afraid of additional equipment, but the rule applies here that the less of it, the less it will break. It's also worth looking for the S-Line version with 17-inch rims, larger front brakes, a different bumper and perforated leather on the steering wheel. The S-Line cannot lack appropriate markings and door sills with this logo. Common faults in Audi A6 C6. Failures of heads, shafts and injection system in the 2.0 TDI PD diesel engine. Fuel pump failures and leaks in the 2.0 TDI CR diesel engine. Intake flap failures in V6 diesel engines. Flap failures in the intake system in the 2.4 petrol engine. Carbon buildup in TFSI and FSI petrol engines. Sensor and timing failures in naturally aspirated FSI. Suspension that wears out quickly. Controller and sensor faults, what to look for. Cars with documented repair history. Quattro versions, what to avoid. Cars that have just had their engine repaired and have visible corrosion, 100% repaired. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know any problems with this car that I didn't mention, be sure to write about them in the comments.